up, everybody? It is Jameson Tank coming back at you for another episode of the Jameson on the Rocks podcast. I've been very excited about this one. This is going to be a fun one, and there's a reason for that. Is because, let's get a little drum roll, get a little drum roll noise. 1 year ago today, I started the Jameson on the Rocks podcast. Can you believe that? Let's insert some claps there, you know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. Can't believe it's been a year, man. That's crazy. It's just, I think about it a lot. I'm kind of rather nostalgic about these sort of things. So, yeah, I'm just grateful that it's made it this far because, you know, you start something and you don't know if you're going to do it for 3 weeks and never think about it again, or if you'll sit around wishing you had done it, or if you'll just do it forever and love it. And I kind of got the feeling that this one might be a forever thing for me. Not to be too romantic about it, but really fell in love with the podcasting game, and I'm going to tell you about the origin story and how I got going and all that good stuff today. So yeah, but firstly, I just want to thank all you guys for watching. That's the only reason I'm still doing it, is because the people just love it, and people ask me about it. I get to meet new people. It's just, you can't beat it. I love it. So yeah, be sure to go ahead and subscribe to the podcast and drop this a like and follow on Instagram at Jameson_on the rocks. And yeah, let's get into this thing. So, a little backstory, a little origin story. This is funny. I'm always asking my guests the origin story. Now I'm giving my own origin story. Kind of funny. Depending on who you ask. But anyways, 1 year ago, I'm sitting on the farm back in Gibson, Georgia. It's mid-quarantine, or not mid-quarantine, but the beginning of the quarantine, excuse me. We get the email in March that we don't have to go back to school, which is like, oh shit. Which is like, what the fuck I'm going to do? At the same time, my band that I was in kind of falls apart. And we have like 8 to 10 gigs get canceled, which is like heartbreaking for me because would have been my first real run of shows. But yeah, so anyways, I'm sitting around the house and I make a record. That's the first thing I did was recorded 6 songs, which you'll be hearing sooner than later, not to flex or anything. But after that, I was like, well, fuck, what am I going to do? I'm not going to sit up here at the farm all day and just like plow the fields and whatnot. So I decided that I was going to start a podcast. I remember just thinking like, I liked podcasts. I wasn't like the podcast guy or anything. I never wanted to be like, I never was like, oh, just one day I'll start a podcast and it'll be great. No, it wasn't like that. It was like, I like Joe Rogan like every other 22-year-old dude on the planet, I guess. And I've watched some of the Barstool podcasts, the Spittin' Chitlets, Call Her Daddy, stuff like that. And then Pulp and Mex was probably the biggest inspiration behind how I was going to do things because if you don't know Pulp and Mex, it's a big motocross podcast where like he has guests call in and like they all just talk and he supports the privateers and stuff. But anyways, it was like the formula was that all these people, they create these universes around them kind of. They start just like trying to learn about people, and like at the end of the day, you're kind of just there to listen, you know, and you throw your 2 cents in where you can. I thought that was really fascinating. And it just sounded like a lot of fun. You know, it's kind of trendy right now. Everybody has a podcast. I don't have a problem with that because I myself have one. And I think it's great. I think everybody should have a podcast. I think everybody who has thoughts and then posts 4 paragraphs on Facebook, should just start a podcast. What the fuck are you writing that on Facebook for? Just start a podcast. Come on. The audio gear is cheap. Come on. You can do it on your phone. So I feel like everybody should have one. But yeah, so I'm watching stuff like Joe Rogan. Like I always thought like, I don't know, just like you'd watch these podcasts or you'd stumble across them on YouTube or the Gary Vee podcast and stuff like that. And I was kind of taking notes low key without thinking about it. But so I remember I took a notebook. It's probably this notebook, honestly. And I wrote down the plan because when you start a podcast, everybody's first question is, well, what the fuck are you going to talk about? Like about what? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you know kind of thing. And so I was like, shit, got to figure something out. And then obviously the first and only choice I really considered was music because just very passionate about it. If you know me, you know I just love some music. And I love talking about music, and I love talking to musicians. And yeah, so that was so obvious just from the start. I remember I just wrote music at the top, and then it was name time. I remember one of the first names I considered was the Jameson Tank Experience, which is just a blatant ripoff from the Joe Rogan Experience. Really glad I didn't go that way because, I don't know, that's just not original. I guess it's me ripping off Joe Rogan, ripping off Jimi Hendrix. So it'd have been okay. But still, I think another one was like the Tank Cast or the Tank Pod, stuff like that, stuff around the tank stuff. But anyways, I'm glad. I don't even remember how I came to it. I remember I kind of wondered if it was going to be like a legality issue using Jameson on the Rocks, but I found out it wasn't. So I rolled with Jameson on the Rocks. And I kind of think, like, I remember before the first episode, my co-host at the time, which was Mr. Tanner Land, who we'll get into in a minute, good friend of mine. I just remember being like, he was like, got any names? And I was like, nah, man. And we might have filmed the first episode nameless. Can't remember. But anyways, before at episode 1 or 2, I remember just being like, how about Jameson on the rocks, man? And he was like, oh, that's way better than anything I've got. And I just remember we just rolled with it. And I'm glad we did because it's kind of perfect. It kind of just works nicely. I love the logo. I love all of it. So yeah, that was how it kind of started. And started doing it in my mom's little cabin. She's got a cabin she works in at the house. It's like 12 by 12. And in the summer, in June, in Gibson, Georgia, it gets fucking hot because you have to turn the AC off during the podcast or it's like the whole time, which nobody wants to hear, especially me. I can't deal with that shit. So me and Tanner would get up there and we would do podcast episodes. And by the end, we would be fucking drenched in sweat. Like I'm talking about sauna in there. We would just, door wouldn't be open, nothing. We'd have to put stuff up on the windows to keep the sun from going through. We would be fucking hot, but it was so much fun. I remember just from the first one, just being like, wow, that was fucking fun, man. Because I don't even remember what me and Tanner talked about. I tried to listen back to it, but I was like, oh no, I can't do this. Like when you hear your voice in a video from when you were a kid or something, it's like, oh no, I can't listen to this. But that was the plan from the start, was me and Tanner to kind of keep it going and eventually have music guests on. But the plan at the beginning was to just talk about music. We were just going to sit around and talk about U2 records and Van Halen records and Third Eye Blind and stuff and just like rank music kind of thing, which is still appealing. I mean, we still kind of do that, but it's not the main focus of the show anymore, which is good because I feel like it kind of became clear around episode 5 that it was like, oh, we can't just keep talking about our favorite records. Like, we need to have somebody bring something to the table other than our experiences kind of thing. So, but those were great episodes. I really enjoyed those, and I wanted to thank Tanner Land for starting this podcast with me because he definitely helped me get it going. He was there when because solo podcasts, as much as I'm loving this right now that we're getting, they're definitely not as fun as having a guest on that's going to teach you something kind of thing. So Tanner just helped me get going, and once the podcast moved to Athens around episode 5, I think, it's unfortunate that like it just wouldn't pan out with Tanner being on every episode. But I will give Tanner credit; he got us going. So shout out Tanner Land. And those first episodes, I could still listen back to a few of them, and I think we did really good. Like there's a lot more ums and a lot more like just not knowing what we're doing, like not really having a direction. But the seeds of something really fun were there, and I think we realized it because we started doing one a week for those 5 weeks of summer, and I really enjoyed it, man. And those first episodes are one of them actually is trending on if you type in 80s rock or 80s rock podcast, one of those actually pulls up, which is why it's got some of the most listens, which we'll get into later, which I think is cool. But anyways, I think around episode 5 I started going, oh shit, this is fun. Like I love this. This is fantastic, sitting around talking to musicians. Excuse me right quick. Yeah, I just remember thinking just wow, this is fantastic. And like after every episode, I'd feel this just like euphoric feeling of like, wow, this is great. Like this feels right. This feels good. This is me. And I felt like I was good at it. So I was like, okay, well, it's time to get some guests on. First musical guest, I believe, was Cannon in the Boxes, good buddy of mine. Shout out Cannon. Cannon was a great first guest. And after that one, I was like, oh shit, yeah, this is happening. And then it just started snowballing. Josh Tillman, Everyday Dogs, Jeffrey Vernon. Oh gosh, so many people, I've lost count. But those were the first couple episodes, and just after that, kind of starting to find my way from like actually learning how to lead people in a conversation, like actually finding a flow of things to like, oh, I'm gonna need to tell this story kind of stuff. Not to sound too dramatic or anything, because deep down the podcast is so like natural, like we just talk that it's fine. But inside, I have like some topics I want to hit if I know my guests well enough, of course. But yeah, that was what got me going. I need to pull up an episode list. Actually, let's do that right now. Let's see. Let's list all the episodes. See if there's any notable ones in here. Okay. Actually, they're all notable. Excuse me. Episode 1 was Intro. This is the name of it. Intro Part 1, the 90s grunge and Third Eye Blind. The bio, an introduction to the Jameson on the Rocks podcast. Jameson, Tank, and Tanner Land discuss a broad array of musical topics such as grunge bands, Britpop, new music, etc., as well as rank the top 10 songs on Third Eye's debut album. I would be scared to listen to this right now because I just hope we don't sound like clowns. But you know, like that's just exactly where we were at that point, which is going to be so great because like in 10 or 20 years, we can go back and listen to this and just laugh. I bet I would love to sit down and listen to this with Tanner now because I know our fucking takes are probably changed by these days, which is hilarious, just to know that like, oh, I definitely wouldn't, you just change with time without even trying to. Okay, 5, Cannon in the Boxes. 6, Lotus and I, my dudes. That was a really fun one with Benton Turner and James from Lotus and I, Augusta band. Because at the start, the plan wasn't really to move it to Athens. Like the seed was planted for that, but we didn't have the plan in place yet. Benton and James came, and I was like, oh, we're going to be on an Augusta music podcast. We're going to have Augusta bands on, and we're going to do it. And if people will come out here to Gibson and do it. And I remember this is the episode we were having trouble with the Wi-Fi. Like we were using our hotspots because there's no Wi-Fi in Gibson. And the episode crashed 2 or 3 times. I think we had to start over at one point, which is hilarious. And I had to hook it up to Benton's phone to do it. Ben, excuse me. And good time. We drank 12 White Claws together, which was just a blast. I think they shotgun 2 before we started. So yeah, we were really getting down to the hard hitting points. Number 7, 007 was Radio Jane, aka Josh Tillman. That's appropriate. Hunter, Jeffrey Vernon, Everyday Dogs, Cosmonaut. That was a big episode because, I don't know, there was just great vibe. We just laughed the whole time on that one. That one is a really great watch if you guys want to check that out. Number 13, featuring Cosmonaut. And sure enough, you can hear me tell Mr. Luke on there, Luke Fuse, to start a podcast, and he sure did. It's called A Gin That Talks. You guys should all check it out. I really appreciate him doing that because I just think every band and every person that's interested should have one. Underground Springhouse felt like a really big episode. Like maybe the first episode with like a band that's like, oh, these guys are gonna be massive. You know what I'm saying? Or like that are like they've almost sold out Georgia Theater. So it was like, wow. Drew Beskin, that's a great episode. JT Band, that's a great episode. Common Current, so much fun. Episode 19, Luke and Trey. This is the first no music episode. Because, I mean, just sometimes you just don't want to talk about music. You just want to sit down with your homies and have a few beers and talk about whatever. And that was that. And that's a great episode that we're going to talk about later when we rank the top 5 most streams. 20, Bradley Reeves. That's a GOAT. I love Bradley. The Orange Constant with Nick is a fun one. Elijah Johnson's a great one. Behind the Music, that's great. I really like doing those. Another one featuring Connor Anchorage. Connor is my most used guest, so shout out Connor for coming on every now and again with no pay. Aspen Ananda was a great episode. Love her. Hotel Fiction was the first one since the Lotus and I one where the fucking Pro Tools crashed and I lost it all, and it was just such a great episode. But lucky enough, I pulled it off the camera. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I used the camera audio. So that was a cool one. We're in the high 20s now. Bear with me. Lighthearted, fantastic episode. Gracie's so interesting. John Cherry of AFTM, awesome episode. Love John. 30, Luke Durrani and Keith Pritchett. That's a good one. 31, Kelly Bouchelon, fantastic episode. Love that guy. 33, Sam Groveman, fascinating, funny young man. 34, NutriSnap. That was a big episode because it was the first like touring band that I didn't know like coming through. Like they were playing the Warehouse in Athens. I've been following them for years, and I said, hey, pull up. And they were the fucking nicest guys. That was an awesome one. Dude, honestly, these are all awesome episodes. I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm going through all of these and saying how awesome they are, because they are. And I was telling somebody the other day that I've done almost 40 episodes, and I've had maybe 2 episodes that I was like, about. That is something special, you know what I'm saying? I just feel so grateful for that. And it's partially thanks to my guests, because the podcast is only as good as your guest, you know what I'm saying? Like, if your guest sits there and doesn't give you anything, like, it's usually not a good episode. But the vibe that your guest sets and upholds is what's important. So I appreciate all my guests for being wonderful. I want to thank you all for coming on. 36 is Jacob Mallow. 37 is Amanda Rockenbach. 2 fantastic episodes. And we got a lot of great episodes coming. July is going to be a big month for us, I hope. I can't give away any names, of course, but I got some great guests coming on that I'm excited about. We're doing some new stuff, going out of the studio stuff. And it's just so great. I feel so great right now because it just feels successful at this point. Like, it's been widely accepted in the Athens music scene, which is really the scene that I care about the most, of course. And more people reach out to me than I reach out anymore. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't really reach out anymore unless I just see somebody that's my homie, you know. I have a wide array of requests coming through the DMs on Instagram, which is just amazing that it's been. I have people email me from other states wanting to come on the podcast, not just flexing. I just think it's so cool when something you start so little can become so big. And I'm excited to see what we can do in 40 more episodes, you know what I'm saying? And we're starting to get sponsors, which is exciting, which is nice because as fun as it is doing for free, you know, it's nice to promote other companies. It's nice to, even if I make $5 an episode so I can get the guest beer, I'm down with that. I would love that. So if anybody's interested in sponsoring me, hit me up. I would love to promote your products or your brand or whatever. But anyways, let's see what I wrote down. Pretty much covered it. Okay, my favorite parts about podcasts definitely be meeting new people. You just get on here and sometimes you don't know your guests, you know, like like Amanda Rockenbach, had her last week. I had no idea who she was, never met her. She DM'd me, wanted to be on. I was like, absolutely, you're awesome. Gave her a listen, did the research that I needed to do, and came in. It just felt like towards the end I just had a friend after. It's just a fantastic feeling to just the vibe. You just get in this zone like where you can't think about anything else but what you're doing. And that's just priceless, man. There's not many other things like that for me. And the main one is music, you know. It's like when you're up on stage, it kind of feels like that, but like not on stage. You get what I'm saying? So you just get in this zone, you get to talking, and the vibes get right, and you're drinking tea, and your guest is having a good time, and you can tell. And you just know you're like they're getting questions they never got before about their career, and you know it's just going to help them out, spread them to a bigger audience. That's just priceless. So yeah, I hope I can keep doing that. Another thing I really liked, spreading the word about people. Yeah, I already said that. It's came a long way, honestly, is what I'm trying to say here. Is a lot of stutters, a lot of a lot of weird behavior, and like really worked on my people skills per se, like getting really good at just getting people to talk, which I think I do well. So but yeah, let's rank the top 5 episodes and most streams. Actually, I had trouble counting these up, which is a good problem to have, but let's do the top 5 most streamed episodes of the first year. Hopefully we can do one of these every year. Hopefully I'll have a guest for me next time. I don't know how I feel about the solo pods. I feel like I'd rather have somebody in here gassing me up. All right, the number 5 most streamed episode of 2020, or the first year of the podcast, excuse me, is episode 15 featuring Underground Springhouse. I'm actually not surprised about this one because this was a fun episode. Very, very informative to hear from a great band that was kind of doing on a bigger scale. So yeah, I'm not surprised about that one at all. I will drop the links to all these in the bottom. Number 4, episode 20, featuring Mr. Bradley Reeves. Not surprised about this one either. Bradley is a fantastic guy. He's very, very informational in his in his episode, excuse me. And it was just fun. It was just a good vibe talking with a good friend. Because me and Bradley used to talk about stuff like that at school all the time, just in between classes. So it wasn't easy. I mean, it was easy. It wasn't forced. And yeah, it's just a great episode. You should check that one out. Number 3, episode 14.5. I actually got confused on my episode number, so I did 14.5. This is the Police tribute episode featuring Mr. Connor Anchorage. Not surprised about this one either. It's the Police, man. It was just a fun outside of the box talking about an artist that I was really engulfed in at the time and I really love, and Connor loves him too, no doubt. So that was a fantastic one. Number 2 most streamed episode is episode 003, which is 70s, 80s dad rock, soft rock, and Nickelback. That's where it fucking belongs right there. Love it. Up high. I'm surprised about that a little bit, but somehow or another, that one got picked up by the Spotify algorithm, so it pulls up really high on the rankings. And the number 1, let me insert another drum roll here. Drum roll. The number 1 most streamed episode of the first year is Luke and Trey, episode 21, I think. I don't know why. We've done 39 or 37 episodes and all about music except for 1, maybe 2 episodes, and the fucking one about not music is number 1. Maybe it's the people telling me to stop talking about music. I don't fucking care. I'm gonna keep talking about music. Maybe it's because Luke and Trey are fucking hilarious when they get together and have a few beers. That's probably the most likely. You should check that episode out. You should check all those episodes out. I want to thank all of my guests who came on because you were all fantastic. I can't complain about a single one of you. And just the support, man. Thanks to just everybody. Thanks to the music scene to accepting me, and everybody who shares it, and everybody who comes on, and everybody who enjoys it, and everybody who sees me downtown and says, hey, you're that podcast guy. That fucking makes my day. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm tired of talking to myself, so I'm going to hang up now. I hope you guys all have a good night. Keep supporting the show. Love you guys. Be sure to subscribe. And yeah, shout out to 1 year of Jameson on the Rocks. Cheers. Good night.